9/11 Part 9. Those blamed for 9/11 are Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein lost everything. Al-Qaeda, created and financed by the CIA, is now hardly recognisable as a cohesive organisation. But you wouldn't know it, would you? What irony. When Al-Qaeda was alive and kicking, due to US foreign policy, it was kept under wraps. Classified tighter than a camel's arse in a sandstorm. Now they're all but finished. Due once again to US foreign policy, all we hear is Al-Qaeda did this, Al-Qaeda did that. And boy, have the media put a new meaning to the word relentless. Anything, yeah, it's Al-Qaeda. It's been a non-stop barrage, and no one pauses to think, try and work out. Hang on a sec, does Al-Qaeda actually exist? Their leaders are dead, their finances kaput. Fact is, we never see anyone of significance actually claiming responsibility for any attack. Only the media say it's Al-Qaeda, it's Al-Qaeda. And woe betide if, like me, you're daft enough to ask people to think. They stop and look at you, you stepped off a banana boat. You know, I know an 8-year-old who says it's obvious that bin Laden, Saddam or anyone would never dream of attacking America, for they know it'd be tantamount to committing suicide. An 8-year-old, for Christ's sake. The accusers, on the other hand, gained everything. Once Bush weaseled his way into the White House, no time was lost setting into motion the specific wishes of the PNAC group. What did they want? Permanent base in the Middle East. Yep. Free Iraqi oil. Tick that. Higher oil prices for their benefactors. Oh yes. A severe hike in defence spending for their other buddies. Yeah. A pipeline through Afghanistan for an even greater controlling stake in energy. Tick. The populace fooled into believing terrorism is the #1 priority. Oh yes. Ensuring America, well not America. No, these crooks of monumental proportions maintain their economic grip over the entire globe. Tick. And of course, last but not least, since the USA has long since surrendered its independence to the all-powerful juggernaut of the Jewish lobby, Israel can tell all the porkies it wants and literally do as it pleases regardless of international law, with what effectively is a reusable blank cheque courtesy of the US taxpayer. A huge, emphatic tick. All this and more accomplished with distinction thanks to 9/11, just as the PNAC group desired. Remember what they said? The process for transformation could be a long one, absent some catastrophic and catalysing event. Their very own words. In part 1 I suggested whether ignorance, fear and apathy were contributing factors as to why 9/11 was a resounding success for the conspirators. Hardly qualities worth cherishing, yet perfectly understandable. Ignorance speaks for itself, as does fear. Yet there's something about apathy that particularly bothers me. It's not just the fact that by not caring one tends to give others a licence to commit skullduggery. No, I believe it's something a little bit deeper, and it stems from the reality that no life form on this planet, past and present, has ever been as aware of its own life expectancy as humans are. We know we have X amount of time, thus turning a blind eye is a simple task. Many of us have a plate full to worry about, so why get involved? My feeling is this. Mankind's remarkable rise was to a large extent due to its willingness to learn. By learning we improved. Improvement allowed us to discover new ways and means. This provided us with the incentive to learn more and advance and so on. In order to do this, above all, we had to be curious. Only then could we truly test ourselves by asking questions of our very surroundings. We most certainly were never obliged to meekly accept what was on offer. So I wonder, could mankind have come so far by being apathetic? It is imperative pressure is maintained, for those responsible have untold resources and will stop at nothing. I believe special thanks must go to scholars for 9/11 truth. I can't help but feel while they're hitting for us, we've got a chance. Well, there simply has to be a limit on how long the mainstream media can ignore and belittle what so many of the world's finest and most respected minds are saying. The thing is, the press, no, they're on a hiding to nothing if they challenge testimonies of professors, scholars, physicists, pilots, and experts in the field of demolition and architecture. That's why they don't even print their work. So to many at best, the press appear unprofessional. At worst, they're undoubtedly manipulated. Gradually, as more people become aware of this, all forms of media, hopefully, will slowly feel the pinch as ratings and newspaper sales decline. This, in turn, could lead to a slump in advertising revenue. What are they going to do then? Carry on telling lies? Though I believe religion and nationalism are problems mankind one day simply has to overcome, I have no gripe against anyone or any group of people. For me, all that matters is whether one is of good heart and of sound mind. Finish. There are rights and there are wrongs. There are good people, there are bad. I've attempted to outline an unbiased picture of what has happened in America and indeed the world since the year 2000. Yet though just about everything I've written can be verified and so concluded as factual, I've had people tell me, where do you get your facts from? Moreover, even though I class myself as unreligious as one can conceivably be, I've been accused of being a supporter of Islam. I've even been called stupid. Now please. Famed lawyer and author Vincent Bugliosi has concentrated his efforts not on 9/11 but on the Bush administration's decision to invade Iraq, and in doing so he's weighed in no uncertain terms with his book The Prosecution of George W. Bush for Murder. He argues that the 4,000 or so US soldiers that have lost their lives is in fact murder. He makes a damn good fist of it. The White House ordered comprehensive studies from just about all their intelligence agencies. Did Saddam possess weapons of mass destruction? And more importantly, was he in any way a threat to the security of America? Bugliosi produces documents from 16 US agencies, including the CIA, where each and every one concluded that in no possible way was Saddam an imminent threat to the security of America. These reports were passed on to the White House. 6 days later, George Bush told his nation Saddam was an imminent threat to the security of America. Well, Bugliosi has documentary proof that Bush lied through his back teeth. And since over 4,000 US soldiers are dead, what, do you want me to spell it out? The only reason why Bush and his cohorts are not in jail now is because all of Bugliosi's work has been boycotted by the mainstream media. Consider too how the attention was switched to Saddam Hussein. Does anyone seriously believe the international community would have permitted the Iraqi leader anything resembling a firecracker? I mean, weapons inspectors had carte blanche. There were no peace terms. It was an ultimatum. Whatever Saddam had in terms of missiles, poisonous gases, and the factories manufacturing, the whole lot had to be destroyed. There were no weapons of mass destruction. In fact, were there ever any? Whilst Saddam's army capitulated with the minimum of fuss in Desert Storm, the main worry were his Scud missiles. But these were hardly WMDs. As for the mother of all lies from Chief Porky Merchant Tony Blair, that the UK could be hit within 45 minutes. And we went to war on this. Blair and his sidekick, Alistair Campbell, had already staked whatever reputation they had by stating categorically this was the reason why Iraq had to be invaded. After busily sexing up documents in order to make it seem Saddam may have WMDs, untold pressure was then applied on Gillingham to reveal his source. He finally succumbed, in effect leaving Kelly high and dry. In no time, Kelly was unceremoniously grilled by a bent parliamentary committee. Days later, this public servant, a true public servant, was found dead in a field. Suicide. Officially, it was declared he'd been depressed and had taken his own life. If there was one man Saddam would have loved to have eliminated, high on the list would have been Kelly. Yet time and again, this brave man went to Iraq to methodically carry out his dangerous job. So I ask, does this sound like a man who'd take his own life? What's more, there was no connection, absolutely none, with Al-Qaeda and Saddam. Truth is, bin Laden despised the Iraqi leader. But on the basis of fighting terrorism, the US, along with Britain, deemed it necessary to invade. You may ask, if America's intention all along was to establish a base in the Middle East, then why didn't they do it a decade earlier? The opportunity was there. Very simple answer. In Desert Storm, they had way too many partners. Though the US provided the bulk of the firepower, several countries committed troops to help oust him. The operation was wholly an international affair. This time around, America had but one ally, the UK. The rest of the world, notably France and Germany, remained unequivocal, expressing grave misgivings at the flimsy, unsubstantiated reasons for invading Iraq. And let's not forget Bush's other beauty, the Patriot Act. The Fourth Amendment, part of the Bill of Rights, regarding against searches and seizure without a warrant, gone. The Sixth Amendment, part of the Bill of Rights that grant legal representation after arrest, gone. Oh, but they didn't give a toss about sorting out the glaring discrepancies in the Fifth Amendment, which often allowed a proper gangster to sidestep justice and laugh while doing so. I don't know how they ever kept a straight face when they said, I'll take the fifth on that one. They didn't do anything about that. I mean, what an absolute joke. 9/11 was bad enough, but the event to clear the way for new terror laws to rapidly be ushered in. Laws that smacked in the face of those who may have felt they had democratic rights is truly sickening. Undesirables, whistleblowers, any would-be maker of waves now could be easily apprehended without charge, without representation, and all that's needed is any Tom, Dick or Harry to say this guy could be a terrorist. This awful act not only chipped away at the very foundations of liberty and freedom, but significantly also served to benefit the true conspirators. That's why they brought it in. Pitiful. How pitiful these callous murderers talk about democracy and freedom. And in reality, all they're doing is taking it away. "9/11 wasn't just horrifying for the victims and their families. It also proved to be the catalyst for the death of well over 1 million innocent civilians in Iraq, Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as the loss of brave soldiers on all sides, along with the pain and suffering of all their families. I can't help but feel 9/11 was a day when mankind actually sank to a new low. Sure, we had to endure the likes of Hitler and Stalin, but I believe those directly involved in setting up 9/11 actually are more evil. You see, Hitler and Stalin were insane. And our laws state the criminally insane cannot be held responsible for their actions. But this is what can happen when those who appear more at home in a lunatic asylum when they actually seize power. No question, Hitler and Stalin were responsible for infinitely more deaths, but murder is murder. And when you're prepared to wipe out your own people for money, power, for whatever reason, you're every bit as evil.